Hello and a very warm welcome to the sixth and final round of this year's HSBC UK Men's National Circuit Race Series. Well, last week on Friday we were over in South Yorkshire for what proved to be a very soggy night of racing over at the Barnsley Crits, but it didn't stop Matt Bostock once again from reigning supreme.
But again, we've got another lap rider getting in the way here, so this is going to be... Bostock is maybe on the back foot here. He needs to really be coming through this corner in second place. Ali Slater there up the inside. Connor Swift all over the back of him. This is going to be a three-up sprint. It's going to be incredibly close. Ali Slater leads it in, but coming around the outside there from Canyon DHB, he's going to make it 5 for 5. It's Matt Bostock.
Well, what a brilliant victory once again for Matt Bostock, and that made it 5 out of 5. He also had a stunning ride at the weekend in Rochester, getting on the podium and taking third in the National Circuit Race Championship. So he's having a phenomenal season. You can hear him just being called forward to the line on a circuit here that has become very famous and very popular with the riders and the fans alike. Welcome to Sheffield.
The metropolitan city of Sheffield was formerly known as the Steel City because of its international reputation in steel production. This former industrial haven is now known as the Outdoor City, with a big push on promoting the city's excellent links to outdoor pursuits. Sheffield is also known as one of the rising stars in the UK's arts and culture scenes. Factories have been replaced with museums and art galleries, and Sheffield is also home to the largest theatre complex outside of London's West End. Within that complex is the Crucible Theatre, which famously has hosted the World Snooker Championships annually since the late 70s. But which rider tonight will have their big break?
Well, you can probably hear it's very, very buzzing and very loud here, so I'm shouting a bit above the crowd noise here to chat to Matt Bostock. Now, what's the plan tonight? Of course, that series victory is sewn up, but do you want to make it that coveted 6 out of 6 now?
I mean, obviously I'd love to, but I think tonight for us it's just about trying to have fun and obviously trying to win, but just it's the last round, the pressure's off a bit, and it's the last one of the season sort of thing, so just have a good race and try and enjoy it.
Enjoy it out there. Good luck tonight. I'm going to just back up a little bit because here is Joey Walker, of course, resplendent in his new national stripes. What does it mean to line up in this jersey?
Oh, it's amazing, especially first race in Sheffield with all my family here and that. Yeah, can't put it into words, to be honest.
And of course, you're reigning champion here on this circuit, taking the win last year. Your friends and family are here. It's going to be a special night.
Yeah, exactly. Even if I don't get a result, I'll just try and enjoy the night, and just got to try and beat Bostock now, so yeah.
Good luck. I'm going to get out of the way and off this start line. Let's join the guys over in the commentary box.
Evening everyone, thanks once again for joining in here live on YouTube. At my side as always, Hannah Walker. Hannah, great to have you back again. We've just seen a nice bit of banter between the two lads there, between Joey Walker and obviously Matt Bostock, so looks like the pressure's off for Matt Bostock tonight, which for him I think will be a bit of relief because it seems to have just been round after round. Can he do 6 out of 6? But tonight just wants to have some fun.
Yeah, definitely, and I think he's already won 5 of the series, and I think he should go into it more relaxed. The pressure is not on him, actually. It's on the other teams to perform and get the win in one of these national circuit series. Obviously, Joey there taking a lot of confidence with that national champions jersey on his back. You can tell just both of them seem very relaxed. And being in a home race for Joey,
exactly.
Although the pressure's on, it's actually almost off a little bit. Just kind of enjoy it. He won here last year. So yeah, it's nice to see the camaraderie between them both.
Back in sunny Sheffield, we'll now take a quick look at the map and see what we've got in store tonight. As per usual, it's the usual format, 50 minutes plus 1 lap, but tonight it's a very, very wide course in parts, but there's also the usual nuances which we always have, change the surface, etc. big long home straight round Pinston Street, then we dive down Fernville Gate, all the way along the bottom of the Arundel Gate, and then we take that left-hander up the short steep climb of Norfolk Street, which then brings on to Surrey Street, which is ultimately totally cobbled. Riders, there is a small seam, and we will see that during this sighting lap. There's a small seam down the middle of the road as you come into Norfolk Street, but then obviously as you turn onto the right-hand side, or the right-hand corner, there's another small seam, and lots of riders will be fighting for that tonight, won't they, Hannah?
Yeah, definitely, and it's always the best place to be out on the course. As we get a look at the individual standings of this National Circuit Series, Matt Bostock running away with the series there with 150 points.
The real race now is
quite close actually between the second, third, and fourth place.
Exactly that. So third and fourth, the podium is all still to play for, with only 10 points between obviously George Wood and third place. So it's going to be a really interesting race. It's great to see Joey Walker there in his national champions kit. But there we can see at the top of the list of the previous winners. Just 12 months ago, Joey Walker came here, took the win, followed by Tom Pidcock the year before when he became national champion. And of course, we look down that list, we've got some real greats of the British circuit race peloton: Chris Lawless, Tom Scully, who is currently right now riding the Tour de France, and a few riders there who've currently just recently retired: Christian Howes, Dean Downing, but still riding, and another man who can always be dangerous on circuits like this, Graham Briggs.
Yeah, definitely. Graham's had a bit of a quiet season, but he always comes good
so
towards
home race as well
home
for
race
Graham.
for him. He always comes good sort of end of July, August time.
Contract time.
Ready to
Contract time.
ready to go for the Tour of Britain, I was going to say. But yeah, Briggs always quite an unpredictable rider. He's never kind of consistent form.
Yeah, he's obviously a fantastic bike handler, and he's got a really good sprint. When Briggsy is on, he is absolutely on. But this year so far, we haven't really seen much from him. But tonight, how important and how special it is for a young man. We're just about to see him in the middle of the picture there. Joey Walker, he's accessorised himself to the maximum tonight. He's got stripes everywhere. I wouldn't be surprised if he's got stripy pants on as well.
Glasses there. He's got blue, white and red glasses. He looks definitely looks the part.
He's got a bit of spring to him tonight. Obviously, local lad, and I think having that national jersey on just gives you that little bit. You'll be feeling like he's. His skin's, he's got the whole hairs in the back of basically the whole of his body will be standing when he goes through his home straight, I think.
Yeah, definitely, and he'll feel like he's floating, it just gives you extra morale, that feel-good factor, and, pride as well. You're in, your home city, family and friends. I remember last year watching him win, and the amount of support he had from his friends and family, there must have been about 20-30 people. It was fantastic, whether that just be people who've gone there just to watch him or were there watching the race anyway.
Well,
I know his dad was absolutely over the moon.
Andy's sister, let's not forget about
Jessie
as well, who is also an unbelievable international bike racer as well. But the Walker dynasty seems to just keep on going from strength to strength, and it's great to see obviously Joey pulling away from that international championships with that jersey. Of course, we can't not talk tonight about Isaac Munday and how much a revelation he was at the national championships, but straight away Madison Genesis looks like John Mould is not wanting to hang around tonight, is he?
Yeah, straight away putting the pressure down at the head of the peloton there, not wanting to, even though it's not a desperately technical circuit, you've always got to be within the top 8 to 10 riders, so it's quite a large field here tonight.
It's a course of two parts. It's really fast down this back straight where you really need to be really forceful with your positioning, because ultimately when you get to the end of here and you take that really tight off camber, it's almost a hairpin back on yourself up onto Norfolk Street into that cobble section. You want to give yourself a free run at that, because that allows you then to take that climb at your own pace, pick your own line, and try and get yourself ready for the next mad rush, which will come down here the lap following.
I think it's also, if anyone else has a problem or a mechanical in front of you, or maybe not picking the line that you want, or has a bit of difficulty, you're stuck behind that, and then it gives you, you have to chase then and try and get back on. I think it's just making the race easy as possible for you. I mean, we were speaking before the race started that although it's harder riding at the front and sort of making all those efforts, essentially on this course it's actually easier to ride from the front than it is to just try and sit in and sort of like get the benefits of the sort of aerodynamics, really.
Yeah, you can just see the boys, they were just on it before, you see them just searching for those little lines on the course up this cobble section, because you want to save as much energy you can up here just for further on in the race, because this is, let's remember, we're only 2 laps into this race. But do please get in contact with us on Twitter, use the hashtag National Circuit Series. As always, Hannah and I will do our best to pull ourselves away from the fantastic action and answer your questions and welcome all of your comments. But right away, Isaac Munday, we spoke about him just moments ago, silver medal what could have been at the National Championships just a couple of days ago. We've seen a little chat with Isaac earlier, and he's came out of that in really good fettle. I think he's taken a lot of positives from the fact that, you know, he didn't lose the Nationals, but he gained a silver medal.
Yeah,
it's a hard mindset to get your head around when you're a rider of that calibre, isn't it?
We were talking about it at the National Championships. You know, how is he going to come back from this? Is he going to kind of wallow what could have been, or is he going to come back, bounce back, and have like fuel on the fire and think, you know, I can do this. My form's good. I could have won, but you know, let's go into Sheffield and the races coming up, and really take the confidence into it. And when we're speaking to him before, you know, what a humble guy. You know, really just brushed it off. You know, it is what it is. And you know, he's very, very proud that he's had that silver medal. You know, whether it was going to be a win, I think he's just so proud to be on the podium.
I think another thing is you have to remember is that he's from one of the smaller, less established teams, but ultimately a club team in Richardson Trek, who every now and then they have punched really heavily over their weight. I mean, George Wood is another rider who's came from that stall as well, and it's really, really nice to see them getting involved. But we can actually now throw to the interview that we had with Isaac earlier. It'll be interesting to get a little bit of backstory about what happened with him, and the little chat with Becca.
To ask you firstly, how are you reflecting on the weekend in Rochester? Because I could see how much that hurt coming across the line, but equally, what a brilliant ride.
I think it was sort of disbelief, to be honest. Like I was just, I couldn't believe it. Like, and you think, what had happened? But I think, I mean, even since the finish, I think I've been pretty happy with everything. Like, I did everything that I wanted to do and got to do that, and I've learned to check my pedal spring tension a bit better. So, like, you know, if you can't come away and have that and be happy with it, then there's not really any point in racing. So I'm a little bit depleted, I think, this week, but I'm good. Happy to be in Sheffield and disappointed it's not raining. But
well, we're loving the weather. I don't know about you guys out there in the heat, but what are the plans for tonight? Because you're the only rider from the team, aren't you?
Yeah. I don't know. I've got to see how I feel, to be honest. Not put my foot out, win. I don't know. I'm looking forward to just like leaving it all out there, really. Like, I think in national champs particularly, there's like an element of conservatism in, like, you want to be on the podium as well. Like, we were pretty happy with the gap, but like I wouldn't have messed around too much with Joey and then come 10th or something. Whereas here, like, I don't care. Like, I'm not in the series or anything, so just race aggressively and see what happens. And if it doesn't work out, that's fine. I'll go home again.
Thank you so much. Good luck tonight.
Thank you.
What a nice way of looking at it, Annie. You could so easily have just been in the doldrums and not really been too bothered to turn up, because your morale takes a massive hit when you just see that national championship just almost within arm's reach and it gets scooped away. And let's be honest, quite unusual circumstances.
Yeah, you know, it's not a normal ending to a race, and you know, it was just very, very unfortunate for him. But you know, to see him bounce back like that, I think, you know, it's very, very admirable, because a lot of people, you know, could think that's it, you know, sort of like throw in the towel. You know, sort of have a bit of which is, you know, understandable as well, because, you know, you put so much effort and hard work into training and to be your best and to win these races, and especially when a national title's on the line. But yeah, to see the way he's dealt with it, I think it's very, very humble. He's, you know, obviously seems a very, very down-to-earth guy, and I think, you know, good for him, got a silver medal, and, you know, probably one of the best results of his career, regardless.
Yeah, absolutely,
and one of the most outstanding rides for him in his career as well. You know, we've already seen him try to have a go off the front earlier, so, you know, I think if he carries on the good form as well into tonight, you know, there's no reason why he can't be either going for the win tonight or even for the podium.
I totally agree, yeah, because he's in that position where he's not there in the overall for any of this, yeah. And he's pretty much got a free card. But as we can see the action, we're only just over 5 minutes into racing now, and already there's been plenty of shots fired from Canyon DHB, Madison Genesis, and then just a moment ago Jacob Scott was off the front there for Swift Carbon Pro Cycling. So a lot of racing to be done tonight. Yeah,
and it's a course as well, you know, like, it never lets up on in Sheffield here. You know, you'll see, as we saw before, brakes go, immediately come back, counter-attacks, it's full gas. I mean,
and it's one of those courses, like, having ridden it, and also you've ridden it as well, is that it's one of those courses we don't want to get lulled into a false sense of security about where you're sitting, because you can very easily slide back on this cobbled climb or you can get swamped very, very quickly on the back straight, which we just came off just a moment ago. The one place which is absolute purgatory on this course is that home straight, because you come up this cobbled section, you're searching for that small seam of road, as you see there, perfectly executed there by Ollie Wood from Canyon DHB. You're seeking that little seam, but then you come over the top of this climb and it just feels like it keeps on going, and this is where 2 to 3 bike lengths can feel like it's going to take an eternity to close down.
Yeah, and with it being, in a city centre, you can just see, sort of the road surface. There's a few little, it's not very smooth, let's say, on this home straight. And when your legs are absolutely screaming after that cobble section, it is a long home straight, and then you have this fast downhill section. So sometimes we've seen, in the previous years, breakaways go away, they've got 20, 30 seconds, and actually on a course like this, it can be reeled in very, very quickly.
Absolutely. As I say, it's a course of two halves. It's a course of preserving and looking after yourself, and then the second half is just about maintaining what you've basically got for yourself, with all that speculation to try and save that energy ultimately for the end. But Sheffield there's always a massive crowd, and it's got such a rich history, Sheffield, when it comes to bike racing. Such greats as, of course, Joey Walker's father, Chris, the Sheffield Express, Malcolm Elliott, one of the biggest legends in UK bike racing, and it's great to see now that this new generation, the Sheffield Grand Prix, has come back, and the public are grabbing it with both arms, aren't they?
Yeah, and I think even from its inception in 2012, it's always attracted huge crowds. It's always the one that it was like, the prestigious race of the year to be able to do, just with the crowds and the entertainment and the atmosphere was just incredible. They've got races for the youth riders, 3-4 category riders. The women's race in previous years.
Ultimately, a festival of racing all day, festival of cycling, and it's great to have seen things like the shows, but I call them the shows. So like the rides for the kids all come out, and it's a proper festival. But I tell you what, getting back to the action here, as we're just now coming up for 10 minutes of racing, we've got a small group of 4 trying to pull its way off the front. Rob Scott here from Wiggins Le Col at the front, quickly followed there from Canyon DHB, Charlie Tanfield. Now Charlie's been a rider who he's shown in this series has been kind of on and off. His job has been mainly and primarily as a team rider to help the likes of Matt Bostock, his team leader. But tonight is a course that suits every single one of the attributes that Charlie Tanfield brings to a bike race.
Yeah, definitely. And he's just so unbelievably strong. And, we've seen him time and time again, sort of go off the front. We saw him last week in Colne. He's doing an incredible job attacking. It just wasn't a course that perhaps suited him when everyone wanted a bunch sprint, but on a course like this,
it's got him written all over it.
Yeah,
big long straights. And as you see, he's one of the riders who obviously he's part of the Hoob team, who are also been really setting such a blaze of the world track scene with the whole aerodynamics and basically breaking the mould. It's probably the easiest way to explain it, but Charlie, as you can see, gets into that really aerodynamic position, tries to make himself as small as possible to save all of those watts for that big, most important attack towards the finish to try and go solo.
Yeah, it's I'd say it's a bit of a trademark of his, actually, isn't it? We saw it throughout the whole tour series of him, really getting low. Even when he's in the wheels, he's getting as low as possible. But, he's done his turn, swings off, and gets back into this line. Working well together. Looks like the guy from Vitas Pro Cycling struggling on the back a little bit. Charlie just slipped in front of him there, but maybe when you first get into a breakaway and an attack, the pace is so hot. Sometimes you kind of need a couple of laps to recover when you're with such strong riders.
That's one thing that you don't get sitting here watching it on the screen. You don't get the real feel for just how fast these riders are going and just how brutal these courses are, because it's very easy to look here at the screen and just go, this looks, it doesn't look like they're trying that hard. But if you ever get a chance, please do come to some of these races and just get the chance to experience it live and see just how fast these guys are going around these courses.
And I think even the gradient on the course, we just got a view of the cobble section there. That's actually uphill.
Yep.
So you go from the bottom section, it's
it's give or take. It fluctuates between sort of 5 to 8%, which doesn't sound that much when it's only a short straight or a short climb. But
when you're on the limit and you're flat out,
and you're doing it repeatedly
for an hour,
repeatedly. But we've been talking a little bit about Sheffield and its rich history and its rich heritage. We actually had a chance tonight to catch up with one of Sheffield and a previous winner here, Dean Downing, back in 2013, running for NFTO. We caught up with Dean earlier on just to see what it's like to come back to Sheffield as a coach and as a manager. So we've got a wee interview with Dean, and we're going to throw to that right now.
And Dean Downing
joins me now. Great to bump into you as always. Remind us why it's so special for you to come to this circuit here.
Well, I realised today that it's 5 years since I stopped bike racing here. 5 years has gone fast, but Sheffield was always special when I was a kid coming to watch Chris Walker here. Always wondered, would I be able to do Sheffield Grand Prix? Mark Etches brought it back. We did that. I won in 2013 and stopped racing in 2014. So, love coming here with my family every year. And tonight's going to be pretty special with Joey Walker becoming British champion at the weekend in his stripes.
I was going to say, that must have been a good moment for you.
Yeah, just watching it. I watched the YouTube link, which was fantastic. So it was cat and mouse into the end. Poor Isaac Mundy had some bad luck with the foot, but Joey seemed to come around pretty quick anyway into that headwind, which I heard about. But watching him win was great. Seeing the social media roll out after that, lots of congratulations to him, and deserves it every step of the way. Tonight's going to be ace, watching Joey in his hometown in the stripes.
Are you on duty tonight or a few beers?
I got my little VIP pass from Mr. Mark Etches, so I come here with my wife and my kids every year just to enjoy for the event what it is. We've been out for something to eat earlier on. School holidays, got to keep the kids busy. I'll have a few beers. Wife will drive home. You nice?
Happy days. Thank you so much. Lovely to see you. We'll let you get to VIP.
Yeah, cheers, Becca. Thank you.
Always nice to hear from Dino, isn't it?
It is, and he's just loves the sport. He's got such great passion for it, and he always comes down here, brings the kids, gets the kids involved, and it's great to have him still involved in the sport despite him retiring.
Yeah, and you've got to remember that a rider of Dean Downing's calibre, he's been a multiple British champion, pretty much won almost every single circuit race that you can imagine in the UK across almost like a 20-year span. Local guy, he knows what it's like to be national champion, he knows what it's like to race in front of this crowd, but now we can see, just going back to the racing from that interview, we've got a 13-second gap here, and the team who has actually missed this is Madison Genesis.
Yeah, this is very interesting. They've come here with a very, very strong squad. Spoke to a few of the riders earlier this morning. Moses and George Pym said they were in good form and they're looking forward to tonight. So interesting to see that they've missed it. Along with sort of Joey Walker, who we've been speaking about, and John Mould as well. Bibby also was in good form at the Crit Champ. So yeah, it's one of them again. They need to sort of get organise the plans as soon as possible before this gap grows any further.
We get a nice
either get a rider
across it as soon as possible. Ultimately, they've got two choices. They can either go on the front of the bunch, line it out in a team time trial situation, or they can start launching people off the front to try and get the high speed in that bunch and maintain that momentum, because we just seen the gap there. It was roughly 13 seconds, but I tell you what, this group is an incredibly strong group, with obviously Charlie Tanfield on the front from Canyon DHB, followed by Freddie Sheskas from Vitas Pro Cycling, Rob Scott, who we've seen has been very animated all through both the National Road Series and the National Circuit Series, and obviously the man there sitting at the back in third place, number 15, Hollywood.
Yeah, as I was saying before, even when he's in the wheels there, Charlie Tanfield gets straight into that aero position. Here, this is what we've been waiting for. Russell Downing, hometown rider, on the attack.
Yep, obviously
brother of Dean,
the younger brother Russ, as Dean always likes to mention him as. But no, Downing, obviously, I think he was being very close to winning this race 2 or 3 times, always been on the podium every time he turns up here. If you can go back to Otley, he had that massive crash in the last corner when he looked like dead cert for the podium. Russ is the kind of guy who can get across gaps like this like lightning. They need to be very vigilant of him, and he's a very, very dangerous rider to let off the leash.
Especially on a course like this. So, you've got home race, the course suits him down to a T, and he's on his own here. He doesn't have any teammates racing this year in 2019, so he's on his own. Can do what he wants.
Yep,
he doesn't have to think about his teammates in the back. He just looks after himself. He knows how to win a bike race, he's not sort of going for any team stand-ins or Tour of Britain qualifications. So these guys, like you say, need to be very vigilant.
And if anyone at home knows Russ Downing at all, he is an absolute puncher. This is the kind of course which has got Russ written all over it, with a short punchy climb. Technical aspects as well suit him down to the ground, but it'll be interesting to see if we get a chance to see how he's making any inroads into this gap. But as we see there, just over half an hour remaining before we see that 5 laps to go board. This group, like, it's settled in, working really well together. now it looks like they're on for the rest of the day. They're going to try their best to keep this away, because Canyon DHB have got quite a few choices in here with both Charlie Tanfield as well as Ollie Wood.
Yeah, Canyon are very, very happy with this selection here, having two, and it works perfectly for them. They can 1-2 against Sheskers and Rob Scott going, in the closing stages of the race, and forcing those to chase basically.
But nope, the national champion has decided enough is enough. Joey Walker, resplendent in that white jersey with the red, white and blue, the home boy here. He's here tonight to put on a show for his local crowd, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, and taking that confidence, as we were saying before, having that jersey, having won here last year, having your friends and family here, definitely taking some confidence and wanting to pull this group back or at least get across to it. Interesting though, we've not seen any of the other blue helmets towards the front of Madison Genesis, so
they were quite active at the start. Obviously, Mould was the first rider to have an attack, and of course his teammate Tom Moses, just during one of the interviews, had a really big dig, got a small gap, but again, just wasn't enough to hang out there on his own. This group here, though, is looking very workmanlike, Hannah.
Yeah, everyone taking equal turns, doing the job, and just looking very, very smooth as they take on lap upon lap. The Sheskers and Scott, not afraid the fact that Canyon have got two riders in this group.
Yeah, they know they can get something from this. And Sheskers, he's a fast sprinter. As you can see, he's a very rangy rider as well. But the Canyon DHB, they've got basically riders who can cover all the bases here. Tanfield can go long from as far out as 10 minutes. Ollie Wood can do the same, but Ollie also packs an incredible punch in the sprint, doesn't he? Yeah,
he's an extremely powerful rider. Doing a lot on the track with GB, with Tokyo in mind, a year from now. And he's such a powerful rider. We saw him at the Crit Champs. He was so strong, trying to bring that break back for Matt Bostock, but certainly packs a punch in a good sprint.
Absolutely. As you can see, just have a little look over his shoulder at Rob Scott, just seeing if there's any chinks in the armour yet. As we look down this home straight, the motorbike is behind these guys, so they've got a good enough gap now. They're establishing this. It must be the best part of 15 to 20 seconds as we hope to get some views along this straight coming down this corner, and maybe we'll see the bunch, but this looks like potentially, no, that's a lapped rider who's about to get lapped, I should say. But on the front, the blue helmet with the red shoulders, that looks like John Mould back on the front of the bunch, just trying to get a bit of order here, Hannah, trying to spark a little bit of a chase. They know that they need to start bringing this back, and they need to be doing it now.
Yeah, although we've got half an hour remaining plus the 5 laps, the gap is so big. I mean, we'll get a time check as soon as possible, but not looking very comfortable, any of them. Mould just pulling a few grimaces there, and 31-second gap there. Mould pulling a bit of a grimace. You saw Bibby there as well, not looking awfully comfortable. But it's now or never. With the calibre of riders in this group, although the gap's 31 seconds, because they're all working so well together. No one's sitting on. No one's trying to miss a turn. They really need to start to realise the danger now. And almost the gap, for me, Jimmy, anyway, I don't know about you, but I'd say it's too big to sort of send a solo rider across.
I would say so. They either need to do one or two things. They need to just keep the speed in that bunch to really, really push it across, or they need to go on the front, but it's too early to hit the front for my money. They need to sit back and just punt people across that gap to keep that speed in the bunch and really, really try and pull it back, because they cannot allow this to get any further. But we are actually now going to throw across to the pits. We've got one of the local teams, CC Sheffield. We're going to be speaking to their DS to see what their plan is tonight of attack.
Dave Coulson of Cycling Sheffield joins me now, and a very special VIP guest as well. What's your name?
Sophia.
Hello, Sophia. Thanks for joining us on camera. But firstly, what do you make of having a race this special here in Sheffield?
I think the city deserves it. It's a real strong cycling city, as a lot of people will know. There's a real history of producing good bike riders, and that possibly is more true now than ever, to be honest. The sort of, certainly the South Yorkshire area, and the city really embraced this event. The weather's always good somehow. And I think it coincides with start of the summer holidays. So there's a lot of families here. I see loads of families and bringing the kids down. It's free entertainment. So and this is what this kind of racing's about. It's shop window for bike racing.
And what's your role in the pits tonight?
Hopefully nothing. hopefully no mechanicals and no crashes. So no giving out spare bikes. and an easy night.
And how's it looking for them positioning-wise?
Okay, yeah, they're doing okay, yeah. We've only started 3 guys tonight, and they're all up there. You know, we've got one youngish guy who's potentially a very good crit rider, but he's not quite as sharp as he could be, but he's doing okay tonight.
And finally, how much are you looking forward to seeing the big finish?
A lot.
We're going to let you watch that bike race. Thank you so much. Back to the guys in the studio.
That's great, isn't it, Hannah?
Brilliant, isn't it? This is what it's all about.
Exactly. It's about bringing the racing to the public and letting them. I mean, that's a prime example for a young girl. They've got great role models riding around this course, and you know what? Every single one of these riders is so approachable. And that's the great thing about cycling. You can't walk onto the football ground of Man United and kick the ball around with the football players. But in cycling, you can ride the same course. You can actually walk up to the teams. You can talk to them. It's such a unique sport from that point of view.
Yeah, it certainly is. And for the first time this year, they actually had a bit of a fun ride. So, you know, members of the public could come ride this course that the pros are going to ride later on, and you know, sort of stay around, you know, soak up the festival atmosphere and have a look around all the stalls, and then watch the pro race at night time. I think it's just, yeah, as Dave was saying, you know, it's free entertainment, and it's, you know, what a spectacle.
Absolutely. And please, folks, don't forget to use that hashtag National Circuit Series. Ping us across any of your comments or any of your questions, and Hannah and I will do our best to answer them for you. But we can see now at the front of the bunch there's a bit of alarm bells going on here, and it's getting very, very scrappy, but also quite disorganised, Hannah.
Yeah, it's no one team is sort of, you know, controlling the front of this peloton to try and close the gap to the breakaway. Yeah, it's very, very messy. There's just no organisation between any of the teams either.
That's just going to play into the hands of these guys in the front here, this group of 4. So as we've now got just over 26 minutes left of racing before we see that 5 laps to go aboard, the situation is currently we've got 4 riders with 30 to 35 seconds gap on the main bunch, and the riders within this breakaway are on the front right now Rob Scott from Wiggins Lacall with the blue and red, followed quickly by 2 teammates from Canyon DHB with the white helmets and the blue jerseys. That is Charlie Tanfield and Ollie Wood. And at the back from Vitas Pro Cycling, we have got Freddie Sheskes in the red. So this here is getting very, very dangerous. We did see a few laps ago during the interview that Madison Genesis were trying to get organised, but again, it's fell apart just when the point when they needed to just really take a moment, reset themselves, get together, and really decide they need to take this now. You know, they really need to get a grab of this race, because if they don't do it now, this is going to run away from them. And I tell you, someone who will not be happy with that, John Mould, who's currently lying up 2nd overall in the series, but also local lad, British champion, Joey Walker, winner here just 12 months ago. He wants to repeat that, and he wants to do it in his national champs kit.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, as you're saying, you know, they need to take 5-10 seconds out of that unorganised chase. And sort of get all the team on the front, you know, get, you know, Johnny Mack and Ian Bibby and Moses and George Pym up to the front to try and help Joey Walker and John Mould. You know, at the minute it's Johnny McAvoy on the front, but it's followed by Canyon DHB, and also George Wood is also there for Swift Carbon Pro Cycling. So
and this is typical Canyon DHB. They do this every round, but the only time they let it slip was at the national championships at the weekend, and they have been so dominant. We say this all the time throughout the whole of the domestic calendar this year. They have been dominant not only in the UK but also abroad. I mean, Rory Townsend, one of their riders, has been getting consistent top 10s and podiums in very high level UCI races across in Europe. So they've got such strength and depth, but it was so weird to see them on the back foot at the Nationals. But tonight, they're by far all over this again.
Yeah, they are. And, you know, they've been all over it for the whole series of this HSBC UK Circuit Series. They've never really missed a beat, but yeah, I mean, you know, it just didn't work out on the day at the Crit Champs on Sunday, but, you know, back all guns blazing here with 2 riders at the front, but then also, you know, patrolling the peloton to stop any chase. And I think that's what, you know, happens when you've only got one rider from a team who is chasing, like Madison Genesis. As soon as you swing off and there's no one of your team to maintain and carry on that chase, or another team who is wanting to chase, so like Swift Carbon Pro Cycling, Canyon DHB are just disrupting the chase constantly and making that gap go out.
And that also is indicative of the fact that they're very comfortable with the 2 riders around the front. They know that both of those riders, Ollie Wood along with Charlie Tanfield from Canyon DHB, they can win this race from this election. And one of the golden rules of being in a breakaway is that you do not ride in a breakaway that you cannot win from. So both of them, in fact everyone in this group, is exuding utmost confidence in their abilities tonight.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even Rob Scott got a very, very strong sprint on him, but he can also go at solo as well. And Francesca's, we've seen him in the Tour Series take a solo victory. So each one of these riders has their own ability and their own way of how they can win a bike race. But definitely Canyon must be very, very happy with the setup with Ollie and Charlie in the front group.
Yeah, you can just see that by the sea of blue jerseys slowly making their way to the front there, as we can now start to see a couple of riders kind of floating towards the front. I've seen Isaac Monday in the bright orange with the white band of Richardson Trek moving up there again, as well as a couple of riders from St Piran. We've got Ollie Maxwell as well as Joe Evans in there tonight for those guys. But again, they need to start getting organised, and they need to start getting organised very, very soon, because this gap does not look like it's coming down whatsoever.
No, and time just goes away, especially on a course like this where it's got so much about it. You can break it down into sort of 3 parts, can't you? You go up the cobble climb, then onto the home straight, and then it's like the downhill and back straight section. So, before you know it, you've done half an hour of racing, and it's kind of time to get chasing and get a few of our guys across.
And it's a really good race to be in this position that these 4 riders are. When you're in that breakaway, you can take the lines, you can use the free speed in the corners, and you don't have any real stress, apart from obviously this cobbled section when it comes to the last few laps. But the thing for me is that they've got the chance that equally they can all put in a big effort on the front, keep establishing that gap, show that bit of willing to keep the momentum in this group. But more importantly, like Charlie Tanfield right now, you'll see him in a moment, he'll probably take a really aero position, try and get really low, make himself really narrow, save that energy. You see Sheska's again trying to get low, trying to get aero and save that little bit of energy, but keep that momentum going, more importantly.
Yeah, and it's all about keeping that momentum. Tanfield just takes a little look behind him, see if there's anyone coming across. You've always got to be vigilant. You can't be sort of resting on your laurels and rest on what your team manager's telling you from the pits. Always be aware of what's going on. But yeah, on a circuit like this, Jimmy, obviously ridden it many times. It looks like Canyon.
Yep.
Here's an interesting
Bostock's
situation.
decided to nip off the front here. This is quite interesting, because we were just talking about how they would look like they were actually quite comfortable with this, but Monday's like, there's no chance I can come through. Bostock must have made a massive effort over the top there, as we see another rider there from Wiggins-Le-Col. Gabs Coulee just sliding into 4th or 5th place there, followed quickly by the national champion Joey Walker from Madison Genesis.
Yeah, Matt Bostock's certainly not happy with this. Maybe he's wanting to go for the 6 in a row.
It's a funny tactic from my point of view. I don't know why you would need to do that, unless one of the riders in the front has made a signal to the DS, Tim Ilveson from Canyon DHB, saying, listen, I ain't feeling too hot tonight. Because we've got to remember is that the UK's got a massive heat wave right now, and you can have a laugh about that, but racing in 30 degrees in the UK isn't something you come across very often. And riders, I've actually suffered from that on this circuit myself, where I lost my water bottle through the cobbled section, and basically I pretty much blew my doors and overheated with 10 minutes to go and had to pull out.
Yeah, and when you're not used to racing in these conditions, like you say, you can sort of laugh about it and think, Brits, but actually, it's very difficult, especially when you're on the limit and you're sort of pushing yourself to the limits and into sort of towards the red. And when you've got your helmet on, your glasses and your skin suit, and if there's not a breeze, it is difficult to sort of cool yourself down. So like you say, if one of the Canyon lads in the break has said, actually, I'm not feeling it tonight, maybe we need to change the plan. However, if that is their game plan, I don't really know why they're carrying on riding.
Exactly.
For me, if they're not happy with it, then they should just be sitting on the back and letting Rob Scott and Sheska's do the work and sort of sit back and say, right, we're not contributing.
Exactly, they might still contribute, but maybe not as much as they have been previously. But yeah, it's a funny one. Maybe Bostock's just wanting to see how the legs are, potentially to see if he can mop up 5th place overall on the night. But he doesn't really have to do anything tonight. He didn't actually need to turn up for the last 2 rounds. He's got that much of a lead. I think that was Mark Stewart just sliding through the picture, the young Scot from Ribble Pro Cycling. Great to see Mark Stewart here back in action, obviously thinking of his goals of 1 year's time of Tokyo 2020 with the Olympic team for Great Britain. But I tell you what, he's another rider you don't want to let get too far up the road. But it looks like every time someone makes an effort up that cobbled climb, they suffer from it along that home straight. And we said that already, that although it's flat and then you drop down here to go along to the back straight, that home straight can feel like absolute purgatory.
And you can see how laboured the pedalling is. I mean, I know Mark's a very, very strong rider, and he can push a big gear and make his pedalling style look very, very smooth, and like actually he's hardly trying. However, it saps your legs after going up that cobble section and then onto the home straight, because actually when you get onto the home straight, it is a slightly little bit uphill, and then after the pits it sort of starts to drop down. So it's a very leg-sapping course here in Sheffield.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially when you take into account that Mark comes from Dundee in Scotland, which very rarely sees double figures, never mind 30 degrees. But this is a great view. It really give you a chance to soak in that atmosphere and just see just how rough those cobbles are as we look at the riders just trying to seek that nice smooth seam just along that white line. I tell you what, it's only about 2 or 3 inches wide, but the amount of comfort that gives you compared to being bounced about on those cobblestones every time up that climb is paramount.
The breakaway really benefit from it as well, from that little seamless section on the cobbles, because they're all in formation and all on each other's wheels, whereas they can take the fastest line, whereas the Peloton, it's kind of, you don't have a choice other than to ride on the rough cobbles.
Absolutely. You can see again Charlie Tanfield taking that aero position, trying to make himself as small as possible to gain as much speed as possible for the minimum amount of effort. But again, this goes back to a moment ago when we were talking about Matt Bostock making that attack up the home straight. I think it may potentially just Bostock just to see where his legs are at, because right now the only rider towards the front for them is young Callum McLeod from Canyon DHB. On the front we just see Mark Stewart on the left hand side there from Ribble Pro Cycling just coming back, but you look around at the front of this bunch and there's guys blowing left, right and centre. You can see that no one's getting an easy ride at all tonight, are they, Hannah?
No, not at all. It's just, someone makes an effort and then actually it's like they want to have a breather on this this home section. A lot of tired legs. This has been a long series as well. I mean, Jimmy, it's a lot of travelling, intense efforts, and you sort of doing other races, road races on the weekend as well. So, maybe a lot of tired legs in the group tonight as well, and also the heat as well playing a factor.
You're quite right there, because this comes at a very, very tricky point in the year, because you've obviously had people who've come into form for Tour Series in the first few rounds, and for a rider like Matt Bostock, who has won 5 rounds of this series, could potentially win a 6th tonight. It's very, very sapping for you, and some riders will be coming into this in really good form and slowly trying to hang on to it, whereas some other riders might come in a little undercooked. And as the level of the boys who came in really hot starts to decline, they start to come through. And a rider who is the epitome of that for me tonight is Freddie Sheskes. Freddie's been not that active. He's been one of the more active riders from Vitas Pro Cycling, along with Ali Slater in the last few rounds. But it's great to see Sheskes up here, and he could be one of those riders which we're actually talking about.
Yeah, and he's always been there or thereabouts. He's not kind of been on the podium in this series, but he's always been there or thereabouts. And like you say, going from strength to strength. But it'd be great to see them get a result tonight, Vitas Pro Cycling.
Yeah, it's long overdue for Vitas Pro Cycling, to be honest.
But on a circuit like this, Jimmy, what would be your tyre pressure? Because you've got so many different road surfaces with the cobbles, and then obviously the fast downhill sections.
Yeah, for me personally, being a rider who weighed mid 70 kilograms, I would say what you've got to remember is that what you take out pressure wise, so say I would maybe ride about 80 to maybe 85 psi on a course like this. Nowadays you can ride way less pressure with least rolling resistance due to the technology in the tyres, but the big thing for me was that if I can save a bit of energy going up that cobbled climb and ultimately make it more comfortable and get up there a bit smoother, I was always going to do that instead of bouncing about. Getting out the saddle on cobbles can be hard enough at the best of times, but the last thing you want is your back wheel skipping about left, right and centre, especially on those last few laps when you're really fighting, scrapping about, scuttling, trying to get up there in that top 5 for that sprint.
How much does it make a difference, sort of when your back wheel is flapping all over the place?
Ultimately,
and you've got too much pressure?
all the power you're trying to put through the pedals is just basically going left and right. It's not going through the pedals, through that back wheel and propelling you forward. So the more contact you have with the ground, obviously, the better for your momentum and gaining that. And talking about momentum, this group has now got 51 seconds, Hannah. I think this is done. This is your front group, and these are the guys who are going to be standing on the podium tonight.
I think if they carry on, we just got a shot of the Peloton. This quartet aren't actually that far behind the Peloton. They could potentially lap the Peloton on this course.
They may be able to see the back of them on that big long back straight, but the thing is here is that yes, they've got 50 seconds, but it only takes a lap or two of the cooperation to dwindle a little bit maybe of a team tactics with Canyon DHB trying to throw Charlie and Ollie off the front, and suddenly this group disintegrates. All 3 riders go back and it's one rider on their own, so we need to really, really watch out for that. But we still got best part of 14 minutes left plus 5 laps of racing tonight here in Sheffield, and to tell you what, this HSBC UK British Cycling National Circuit Race Series has been electric, hasn't it, Hannah?
Yeah, it's been absolutely fantastic, hasn't it? And it's just, although Matt Bostock's dominated it, we've seen such action-packed racing, and it's been fantastic. And I think to finish on a circuit like this in Sheffield is so prestigious. It is the pinnacle of circuit racing here.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's a shame to see it wrap up.
Yeah, absolutely. We can see Canyon DHB all over the front here, and we're going to go across to the pits to speak to their Director Sportif, Tim Elvison, to see what their game plan is and see if we can work it out.
I've spotted some very hard work going on down here in the pits. I've got some important questions for the Canyon boys. What flavour have you got?
Just standard whippy.
Have you gone for the standard whippy as well?
Standard whippy.
Yeah, good choice. A bit of sauce on that one as well. Tim looks very focused. Can you talk, Tim, or are you you gone for the classic whippy as well?
Yeah, a bit of strawberry sauce. Keeping it real. We've had to miss dinner, so this is it.
It's a good atmosphere here in Sheffield.
Yeah, it's always really good here. A good crowd. People get involved. Nice tight circuit as well. Makes it good.
It's looking good out there.
Yeah, perfect really. After Sunday, so on the front foot straight from the start. So
I'm going to let you focus now on the whippies and the race itself. Back to you guys in commentary.
Don't see that every day in the pits. If I was a bike rider, I'd be driving straight out of that pits and trying to grab that whippy out of his hand.
Yeah, definitely. Me too. Or I'd be saying, where's mine? I need one to cool me down in this bike race.
It's funny. Ice cream's a funny thing with cycling, because I remember my old team boss, and luckily enough I get to co-commentate alongside John Herrick every now and then, and one of John's golden rules was never eat ice cream, just because it gives you a whole level of explanation why not to, but that was always frowned upon by John. If he ever caught you ice cream, he'd literally send you straight home. No race,
I've
home,
heard about this, and don't
he's
eat
a hard man, is John. Hard man is John. But it's great now to see some riders now coming to the fore here, as we see a big attack on the right hand side here from Gabs Kulig. Interesting to see this, because obviously Kulig has got his teammate Rob Scott in the front. Now, again, has there been a message sent back to the pit?
This is
from Rob Scott.
Interesting.
It is, but again, are they maybe looking at the fact now that they're letting this race take care of itself at the front? They've got almost a minute's now gap. It's going to be a real difficult gap now to pull back in my book. I don't think they're going to get these guys back, but are they now racing to maybe try and bring a second group? It's very, very confusing.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Obviously, we saw not long ago Matt Bostock try and attack it and jump across when he has already got two teammates in this group, and now Gabs Kulig doing the same thing. Also maybe it's to try and sort of force a smaller group, so that when you sort of sprinting for the minor places, and even for individual classification and team classification, you sort of like pushing yourself more up there, because that peloton is still quite big, and it's bigger than we've seen in previous years here on this circuit.
Yeah, it can easily dwindle on this circuit, because it is so taxing. You can see just at the back there, Freddie Sheshkas is pulling some face just at the back. There is Team DS. Sherry Pridham there with the white shirt was just giving a hand signal just to say, let's just settle back a little bit, try and recover. Don't forget, we've got two boys in here from the same team, and they want this to stay away just as much as us.
Yeah, and I think sort of start to get that recovery in you now, and sort of have your last minute gel, and get as much fluid and liquids on as possible. Because even looking at Rob Scott, you never really see him suffering so much, but he's very red in the face and sort of grimacing. So I really do think that the pace that they're pushing tonight and the heat is making a lot of the riders suffer. But like you say, with Sheshkas, he doesn't really need to drag the Canyon boys around as such. You can kind of just get a little breather for a few laps, and sort of set himself up for the race and for the win.
We see again on the front here the bunch, Mark Stewart there from Ribble Pro Cycling doing his utmost to try and spark a little bit of excitement out of this bunch. He knows that now it's roughly 10 minutes of racing left before they see that 5 laps to go board. He knows that this bunch needs to get its finger out, and they need to do it very, very quickly, Hannah.
Yeah, we've been saying for the past 20 minutes, it's sort of now or never, and the peloton, still trying to chase, but it's just never consistent. They have maybe half a lap, 1 lap maximum of kind of chasing this quartet, and then it kind of is reset, and then Canyon come to the front, and the chase is disrupted. But it really is going to be a last-ditch attempt now
It could
to
also
do
be,
anything to this breakaway.
It could also be, obviously, we spoke about the heat already, and you know, it is only a 1 hour race, but the heat, when you're actually racing flat out in a town centre where there's not an awful lot of wind, it's incredibly warm tonight. There's a decent amount of humidity in the air as well, as we see Tim Elverson just giving his team riders there a little sign that everything's cool, just keep doing what you're doing, this is excellent, we've got this in the bag. But it only needs you to push your heart rate to a point where then it drifts and it won't come back down no matter how much recovery you try and get into your body. So you can see that there's a lot of riders making efforts up that climb, but every single time they get to roughly the home straight or this point in the circuit, they're
need to
blown.
recover.
They're absolutely blown, and that again is that stop-start nature in the bunch, which, yeah, if it was continuous, that would be great, but it's not. What is continuous is the pace of these 4 riders at the front of the bike race.
Yeah, it's no one's sat on or tried to miss a turn. They've all worked very, very well, and a bit like a train coming through, isn't it, with this 4? But I think as well, that the heat that's being bounced off the buildings, being in a city, and some of these concrete buildings, they're giving off so much heat as well. And like you say, when you don't have any breeze or wind, and with all the people there as well, it certainly makes for a hot night of racing.
Yeah, you can see just at the front here from Vitus Pro Cycling. Podium finish last round in Barnsley there. Ali Slater just coming to the front of the bunch, just trying to police it. Quickly followed there again by another rider from Canyon DHB. That looked like young Callum McLeod there. But again, coming up to the top of that circuit, people are just looking for recovery. There's no real racing taking place in that bunch right now, is there?
No, there's nothing. And when it takes, no team wants to take it on, and we've only seen sort of one rider from each team. So we saw Mole just before, and then Stewart as well. George Wood's always been up present at the front, but when you don't have a team committing to this chase, everyone just kind of looks around. And I think also, with all due respect, I think these guys are working so well together.
We've also got to remember though, Hannah, there's 2 races going on here right now. There's the race to win the race tonight on the night, but also we've got points up for grabs just in the back. As you see, one rider there who's having a nightmare of a night, that's Chris Latham. He's been up there in overall. We know he has been sick the last few weeks, but yeah, came back to racing, and obviously he's just not quite in the form that he was at the start of this series, is he?
No, shame to see for Vitus Pro Cycling, because I think he would be one definitely contending for the wins and if not podiums in this circuit series. Has a great track background on him. Silver medal in the scratch race at the Commonwealth Games last year on the Gold Coast. But yeah, it's just not really gone his way for Chris really this season.
Not quite firing in the way that he should be, and a rider of his class and calibre should be in the position that his teammate right now, Freddie Sheskus, is in from Vitus Pro Cycling. But I tell you what, Hannah, last lap we looked at the bunch coming through that finishing line, and this group of 4 is not that far off the back of them. I reckon 30, maybe 40 seconds off the back of this bunch. They might be able potentially to see the back of them. As you see again, Mark Stewart really, really interested in getting off the front here, trying to spark a little bit of activity at the front of this bunch. But again, Canyon DHB, looks like Ryan Christensen just coming to the front, just trying to control it. As we see there in 3rd place in the bunch, young George Wood. Now he is thinking about this overall. He wants to mop up the rest of the points to try and leapfrog the rider in the 3rd place,
which is Ollie Wood.
Which is Ollie Wood right in front of him.
Ollie's
be close.
Ollie's in the breakaway, but I think it's 10 points between them. Ollie's in 3rd, George Wood in 4th, 10 points behind. So
it would have to be a disaster for Wood.
It's got to be
for Ollie Wood, I should say.
Yeah, it's got to be. Yeah, of course, both riders with the surname Wood. It's certainly got to be a disaster for Ollie Wood either to punch or crash out of this front group, and for George Wood to be able to leapfrog him.
Absolutely.
But still thinking about the team overall standings as well. We had a quick chat to him earlier on, and he was saying the focus is still on the Tour of Britain qualification for Swift Carbon Pro Cycling.
Yeah, it's still hanging, lurking in the background subconsciously for a lot of these teams, because they know how important that Tour of Britain selection is, which, like it or lump it, sometimes the politics that come in from that position and trying to get that exposure to Tour of Britain, unfortunately it overflows sometimes into the tactics which happen on the daily in these races.
On the immediate bike race.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure. How do you think it affects it, Jimmy?
I think that you find that a lot of the riders, they kind of fall into this kind of almost like a negative mindset, where they're like, oh, I've got a teammate up the front, I'm not really that, we'll just block the race, and it can have a negative effect on it. But I think, to be honest with you, it's not been as big an effect this year as it has been in previous years. And to be honest with you, the way in which the racing and the team structure is going in the UK, it might become less of a problem next year as well. Unfortunately, we've seen the end of Madison Genesis. There'll be a lot more riders on the market. Potentially some of these littler teams, the smaller, less established teams, could pick some of these big names up, and suddenly we could have a whole new reset in the UK, which might be a really, really good thing in my book.
Yeah, definitely, and obviously only time will tell, but certainly think it does change the racing style a little bit.
The dynamic will change, yeah, but the most important part here is that, we're getting British races live on YouTube, streamed live, showcasing the best riders that we've got in this discipline in our country, and that's the most important part of it. Right now, there we go, back to the racing, Hannah. Let's stop talking about what we think. Let's really focus on what's happening. So the current race situation is that this group of 4 have been pretty much off the front for the best part of the last 30 to 40 minutes. 4 riders in there, 2 riders from Canyon DHB, currently on the front, Ollie Wood. At the back there with the white helmet, his teammate Charlie Tanfield. Sliding to the front right now from Vitus Pro Cycling, we've got Freddie Sheshkes in the red with the black helmet and the very easily spotted yellow shoes and socks. Second place, just sitting in there, Rob Scott from Wiggins Lacall in the blue and red. So we're now getting to that point now, Hannah, where it's not going to be long before we're going to see that 5 laps to go board, and then in this group it's going to get a little bit more spicy.
Yeah, definitely. The gap is jumped up. It was 51 seconds not long ago, and now to 1 minute 10.
They can't be far off seeing the back of that bunch.
No, not at all. But it's just, for me, when's Charlie Tanfield going to attack? I don't think we're going to be able to get to the end of this race without seeing him make one of his trademark attacks and try and go it solo. Of course, if it doesn't work out, he's still got Ollie Wood there as a backup to patrol
and the
Scott
thing
and
is,
Sheshkes.
if I was Rob Scott and if I was Freddie Sheshkes, I would not want to drag Ollie Wood back up to the front of that bike race. So they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Do they let Tanfield go and then ride for second? But then if you take Wood with you, you're going to be up against it in that sprint, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I think for Scott and Sheshkes, the thing is to not stop riding. Keep the pace high and sort of maybe take it out of the mind of Tanfield and Wood to start attacking, and just keep the pace high, because without forgetting, Rob Scott has got a very, very good sprint on him as well,
especially in this kind of finish as well, Hannah, where it's not all about pure speed. A lot of it's brute strength and ultimately tenacity, and I tell you what, one rider who is tenacious as in this group, Rob Scott's the man.
Yeah, I saw him last year in Skipton. Did a fantastic ride. Was off the front with Tom
Pidcock, yeah.
And they were a duo out front for more or less the whole race, and he was so strong. But we've seen it, former under-23 road race champion. But now's the time to sort of get his put oxygen into those lungs, recover as much as possible before they start to see the 5 laps to go banner.
Absolutely, we could just see back in the bunch there was Joe Evans from St Piran with that really nice orange with the racing green shorts, just trying to inject a little bit of pace, because hey, it doesn't take long for information to come from the pit. They know that this group is coming, and the gap can only be, if we look at it from a metric point of view, it can only maybe be about 200 or 300 metres from the back of the main bunch to this lead group of 4.
When if this quartet catch the peloton, do you think, because obviously usually you pull riders out with 3 laps to go if they've been lapped, what would they do with the peloton?
I actually think the breakaway should make a decision not to lap them, just to save it getting too complicated. But the issue you've got is that the timing of the catch, potentially when you're getting to see a little bit of chat between Wood and his teammate Tanfield I think is going to be disappearing up the road pretty soon. But going back to what we were talking about, I think that they need to be really careful right now with what they're doing, because if they do catch that bunch, it's going to be an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, it certainly is, and carnage, it can also sort of like ruin the race for this quartet, because if sort of one rider gets through the peloton, another one of the riders doesn't from the break, it's kind of causes all sorts of
and you can sometimes end up
problems.
having assistance from your teammates, which is very much frowned upon. But the thing is here is that what should happen is that the commissaire should make the decision that if they do lap these riders, that ultimately 3 laps to go, the bunch is sprinting. As we're now hearing that this group now has got 1 minute 22 seconds, so they are gone for the night. There is no chance of them seeing these 4 again until they're coming round on their victory lap and looking up at them when they're standing on that podium.
Yeah, no coming back whatsoever. As we just saw before back in the peloton, one of the Canyon DHB riders just actually attack So
that could be
are they
indicative.
wanting to sort of keep the peloton and the pace high and keep stop these quartet from catching? As we see now, 5 laps remaining of the Sheffield Grand Prix.
I think you're quite right there, Hannah. I think that's indicative of Canyon DHB just wanting to keep the speed in that bunch and make sure that all their players are getting round here nice and safe. Of course, Matt Bostock doesn't need to score a single point tonight. He's got this sewn up. The series is his overall. No stress from his point of view.
Can almost do a victory lap on the last lap, can't he, to celebrate his overall standings?
Pretty much, yeah. And now, obviously, 5 laps ago, the psychology starts coming into it, the tactics. They start looking at each other. See Tanfield just having a good glare at the other 2 riders in this break, looking at Freddie Sheshka's there. And the black with the orange, it's the reddy orange at the front, just behind Tanfield's teammate in the blue there, Ollie Wood, sitting in 3rd place there, a man who I think is potentially one of the most dangerous riders in this group, out with Charlie Tanfield and Ollie Wood for a big attack. Rob Scott.
Yeah, definitely could sustain it and maintain it if he does attack, but I think just look how comfortable Charlie Tanfield looks. It almost doesn't look like he's
looking very
suffering
relaxed.
at all.
They're both looking very relaxed, well. Actually, yeah.
Looking very relaxed, and I think also you always feel much more confidence when you do have a teammate in the break with you. You can, as we see, Canyon DHB
Callum McLeod trying to get off the front. This young lad has played a blinder. It's his first year riding with this team, straight out the junior ranks, straight into the melting pot and in the boiler, which is UK circuit racing. And I tell you what, he's made an absolutely fantastic fist of it this year.
Yeah, very, very strong. Saw him at the Crit Champs as well, doing an absolute fine job. But also get a result for himself. If he stays away, 5th place in this race, should nothing happen to the breakaway here. Tanfield quite happy to let Wood just go through there.
I think Tanfield's lining himself up for an attack here, to be honest. He's now looking at sliding on the back, and that is the signs now, with 4 laps to go here at the Sheffield Grand Prix, the final round of the HSBC UK British Cycling National Circuit Series. Charlie Tanfield, I tell you what, folks at home, I've got a real feeling he's going to hit out next time down this big long back straight and try and get some daylight between him and obviously the group. And I wouldn't be surprised, Hannah, if he does it the minute his teammate hits the wind off the back of Rob Scott's wheel.
Yeah, Tanfield leaving just a couple of bike lengths off the back of Sheshka's. Is he going to attack on? Here we go. Here's Charlie Tanfield makes his move on the back straight now, directly into that aero tuck. Sheshka's has to attack, followed by Scott. Ollie Wood can just sit on the back of these 2 now. Sheshka's having a great ride there to jump across immediately.
I think Sheshka's could smell it coming. He knew there was something going to be coming. You have to be very vigilant in this last section of this race. You have to have eyes in the back of your head. But I tell you what, Rob Scott is doing some right here, trying to claw his way back onto these 2 at the front. You've got the absolute machine on the front and the imposing figure of Charlie Tanfield, followed by Freddie Sheshka's. But what happens when these 2 get caught? Does Ollie Wood start the old 1-2 straight over the top as they hit this cobbled section?
For me, I think if it does come back together, Wood has to attack and counter-attack. Is he confident enough for this sprint? If it comes to a sprint, is he confident to outwit Rob Scott or Sheshka's? Sheshka's looking mighty strong there to be able to get onto Tanfield.
Obviously feeling very confident tonight in his ability, and his legs must be good because his reactions were lightning straight on the back of Tanfield. And I tell you what, Tanfield is not an easy wheel to follow. The minute he puts the pressure on the pedals, you need to be on him like a backpack. You don't want him getting any daylight between himself and you.
No, and I think as well, Sheshka's, just look at the grimace on his face. That really, spent a few pennies there
Charlie's
making that attack.
Yep, Charlie has absolutely hurt him. But looking at the back there, cool as ice. 3 laps to go. Ollie Wood just waiting, just rolling off the front now, Wood. And this is maybe one of those attacks where they look at each other and suddenly it disappears. But right over the top there, Rob Scott from Wiggins-Le-Col in the blue and red, all over it.
Sheshka's couldn't react then at all. He's really paid for that. That effort to get her onto Charlie Tanfield's wheel. But Rob Scott got across.
This is
Hollywood
textbook teamwork, though, isn't it? Textbook.
Yeah, definitely. And way to win bike race. Just 1-2 your opponents, and you're in the strongest position. You've got to work, and you've got to take the positives from it and use what your strengths as well in the bike race.
Got to use your numbers. It is a numbers game, bike racing, after all. And when you have those numbers like Canyon DHB do in this front move, you need to use them, especially when you've got riders of the calibre of Charlie Tanfield, of Ollie Wood, who can pretty much win this race either solo or from this small group sprint. But I tell you what, there's a lot in theirs right now, because Canyon DHB, they have set their stall out Now they're the ones who have to keep this rolling. They started the attacking. Now I know you know what, I can't see Rob Scott or Freddie Sheshka's giving them another spell until they see that finishing line.
You can see the winding up for the finish, both Ollie and Rob Scott just doing up the boas on the shoes. You see young George Wood now makes his effort off the front. John Mould patrolling the peloton, but it's going to be too late for Wood, and even too late for that individual standings as well to jump up into third. But I think now with Rob Scott sitting on the back and separating Sheshkas and Wood, Scott separating the both Canyon riders, they've picked one each, and I think this is a good move to stop them from being able to work together, and also stop them from one rider rolling off the front and the other just easing up and forcing the riders in third and fourth to chase.
Absolutely, because as I said, Canyon DHB have set their stall, but the luxury these riders have got from all that hard work and all that cooperation, that 1 minute and 20 seconds, 30 seconds that they've had over the last few laps, they've now got the luxury where they can take the foot off the gas and see Ollie Wood just trying to ghost off the front as we see 2 laps to go here at the Sheffield Grand Prix, the final round of the HSBC UK British Cycling Circuit Race Championships.
You can see how easy Ollie Wood and Charlie Tanfield are making it look. Wood just rolling off the front there.
Rob Scott there could just sense that Wood was trying to let the wheel go, but straight up the inside, the little dive bomb brings himself back up as he drags himself once again across onto that wheel of Charlie Tanfield.
But there's only so many, of these efforts you can make, with only 2 laps to go now. Sheshka's on the front, looking behind. He's sort of almost anticipating where is the next attack going to come from. Ollie Wood sitting on the back here. Where is the next attack going to come from? And all looking at each other now, bit of cat and mouse.
If you look at also the way and indicative of just how Ollie Wood is thinking when he's attacking, he's not doing a full gas attack, he's just relying on the riders to look at each other as he tries to roll off the front. So Wood's got 2 things in his mind: try and maybe win solo by rolling off the front, or take it in the group sprint, as again he rolls to the front. But I tell you what, Sheshkas is all over this tonight for Vitus Pro Cycling.
Yeah, doing a very, very fine job, looking strong, but it's how much is these attacks taken out of him? Rob Scott just looking around, making sure that no one's coming across, because although you get given time gaps from the pits and around the course,
you're never too sure.
Never too sure. You've always got to be
big attack on the right by Tanfield. Sheshkas again nullifies it straight away. But you know what? Coming round now, they're going to be seeing the bell with 1 lap to go. This is going to be a really interesting and a really exciting last lap, and I love racing like this when it starts to get into the minutiae of the team tactics. Who's willing to take it up, who's the brave riders, who's going to commit, and who's going to be really patient and cool as ice and leave it to the last minute.
And also, it's not about... So here we go again. Tanfield goes again, just underneath the time when Sheshkas wasn't looking at him. Attacks again out of that cobble section onto the home straight. Gets...
Yep, Sheshka's straight on the back of him again, and I tell you what, Sheshka's is riding out of his skin tonight as we hear the bell now. 1 lap to go.
How much are these attacks taken out of Sheshkas and Scott? Because, as you said before, Wood's kind of stopped attacking.
He's just floating. He's floating about the back, and to tell you what, my money is on Ollie Wood to take the win tonight, because he has been omnipresent over the last 2 or 3 laps. He's just been doing enough to keep himself in contact. Obviously, more of a bunch sprinter than any of the riders in this group, but Tanfield has tried 2 or 3 times to no avail, and Freddie Sheshkas on the front there with the yellow socks of Vitus Pro Cycling, he has played a blinder as we see Wood now lining himself up. Tanfield, his job now is to stay on the front and keep the speed high and stop anyone else from attacking.
Yeah, I see Wood now starts to move up on the left hand side as the group just moves to the left. Rob Scott senses the danger of Wood coming up.
Oh,
so it all gets a bit tight now.
Touchy-feely now, isn't it? As we know that Wood wants the wheel of his teammate Tanfield. He wants some clean air into this last corner. As we see Tanfield picks it up, tries to take a defensive line. Wood now, he needs to make sure he gets out of trouble and out of the box. As Rob Scott wants to lead this in, but Freddie Sheshkas straight up the inside there. Bit of a slip out and a massive crash from Sheshkas. That's unfortunately taken Rob Scott out of the equation, but now the 2 Canyon DHB riders are rolling off the front. That is so unfortunate, Hannah.
Oh, he just had so much confidence going into that left-hander, but unfortunately sort of high-sided and then ended up saving it and then flipping over the bars again. That's left Wood to have a clear run to the finish with Tanfield in second. Can Rob Scott get anything left out of his legs to try and at least get second place here tonight?
He's going to try everything, Hannah. He's going to do his best to drag himself back up to Charlie Tanfield. This home straight feels like an eternity, but I tell you, someone who's going to have a moment to put his hands in the air. Ollie Wood from Canyon DHB takes the win, but as we see there, That's just desserts for Rob Scott. Great to see him pull himself out of that moment, deal with the nerves, and then get back to Charlie Tanfield and roll him for second place. That was a really, really misfortunate finish there for Freddie Sheshkas.
Yeah, that was, looking so strong as well and riding so well. A real disappointing to see that happen in
And
that
again,
last...
it's indicative of what we've said so many times now watching these races. The last time that you take these corners, and the only time you take them, unfortunately, at top speed, faster than you will do at any other point in these races, is on that last lap. Just coming in far too hot, and it looks like his front wheel lost all the weight from it as he tried to get out of the saddle and got on the gas early. But you know what? He'll be lucky to walk away from that with no major breaks, because that was a very, very hard fall.
Yeah, that was a very, very nasty fall, and also looks like he's wearing no mitts, so I hope that he's not had any skin lost.
And here we go. The man, Matt Bostock, just basically saying, right guys, we've taken this overall and I'm going to just cement my place at the top of this ranking. Great to see Bostock willing to race all the way to the line, as we see in second place at the bunch kick, followed there by Gabs Coolig from Team Wiggins LeCol. And again, Isaac Munday rolling on from that momentum that he's gained from these great rider at national championships, representing once again from Richardson Trek.
Yeah, brilliant finish by Isaac Munday. As we get a little look at our winner, Ollie Wood. It's nice, always nice to see, isn't it? Directly after the finish, them all have a chat and sort of speak about what went on in that breakaway and sort of congratulate each other. We get a little bit of a replay of this.
You can see a little bit of argy-bargy, because Wood knew that he wanted to be in second place coming into this corner, but I think by this point Charlie Tanfield was pretty much left out there to fry, because they knew they had to get around to him. We see Sheshkas comes round that corner. Looks like, the front wheel just went, and unfortunately it looks like he got his foot stuck in the front wheel.
Rob Scott very, very lucky not to go into the barriers and hit
That's
the barrier
the save of the
there.
night for me, for Scott, because he was pretty much out of that with 500 metres to go. But I tell you what, willing, as we said so often during the show, such a tenacious rider. He's a little mongrel and he's willing to push himself all the way. And I tell you what, second place, great ride from him. But it's awesome to see Ollie Wood back at the top of racing. As we said already about Mark Stewart tonight being active, it's 1 year to Tokyo, and this man on your screen right now, Ollie Wood from Canyon DHB, is going to be one of those riders trying to vie for a place on that team.
Yeah, he is, and great confidence for Ollie Wood. Great to see him take a victory. He's always working so hard for his team, and working hard for Matt Bostock throughout this series as well. So great to see him pull off the win, and he's such a nice lad, so down to earth.
Absolutely. Comes from again another dynasty, the Wood family, along with his brother Reese and his father Alistair, being very, very impressive riders in their own respect. But great to see a thumbs up there from Rob Scott. I think he's a bit relieved by two things: A, getting on the podium, but B, surviving that crash.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's a real shame not to see an out and out sprint between the four riders.
Almost like an anticlimax, isn't it? Because they all deserve to get to that finishing line and really sort it out between the four of them. But again, another example of just, it's not over till the fat lady sings. And I tell you what, there's no singing here tonight.
No, not at all. I think it's all about catch your breath and recover. That was the hard race tonight, and as we've said before, you just seeing it on TV, you don't realise how hard these circuit races are, and especially on this circuit with this heat. But certainly,
great to see, isn't it?
Well done,
they
and
had
thank you.
to come away with it though, Hannah. Let's be honest, they were the guys who were at the front really drilling it. Two riders from the same team. The pressure was on them, but now, as Canyon DHB won every single round now of this National Circuit Race Series.
Very impressive.
And you know what? Again, impressive as always. It just shows you that little blip at the weekend at the National Championships was literally just that. A little speed bump in the progress to, ultimately, domestic domination.
Yeah, shame not to see them sort of maintain the dominance that they've been showing in the circuit series, but straight back on it for tonight's race, and just showing they're one of the best crit teams in the UK right now.
One of the, if not the best team across the board, to be honest with you, because they've been so dominant. I mean, even in the bigger races that we have in the UK, like the Tour of Yorkshire, they've been present all the time. They had a rough time at Yorkshire, to be fair to them. They had quite a bit of illness run through the field, through their team, with obviously Max Stedman being their main man for that event, and unfortunately having a really bad sickness bug, which obviously took the steam out of that team. But they've came back, they've bounced back, and they've got such strength and depth that they can pretty much field any team that they wanted, and they're always going to be there.
Yeah, and I think also with even though Tennant unfortunately crashed in one of the Tour series, and had a really bad injury. You know, they've still got riders to come in and step up to the job. You know, so such a strong team, and it's great to see.
You can see Wood here just rolling up to the podium now, having a little word with her. We're trying to grab him for a quick interview just to see what his opinion is of his race. But again, another local lad. Great to see the local, the guys from Yorkshire being again so dominant and was having such a rich heritage in racing. It's great to see them coming as he now speaks to the race director Matt Etches, who was the man responsible for reviving this race.
I'm finishing straight to grab you here. So what did that moment mean to you, having that huge gap for that big victory salute there as well?
I sort of just found myself off the front on my own, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a long race on my own. And then I just kept the pressure on. Unfortunately, a few joined. Fortunately, Charlie, teammate, so that makes it a bit easier in the final. But we just worked pretty well for the whole thing, and obviously there was only Madison to chase, and I don't know what was happening behind. Really, it didn't really the gap sort of stayed the same a little bit, and then sort of went out at the end. It sounded like they gave up.
Because we were, of course, all watching and talking about what the plan might be from the team, with Matt in the position he's been in over the series, but knowing that potentially you were lining up for that win as well.
Yeah, I mean, Tim just said sort of go out there, have fun and race. Bostock's won the series. He got third at Nationals, so I mean, I think I was third in the series overall, so I might have got up to second. So it's just racing, I guess. Just go flat out and see what happens.
And what were the crowds like? They're really big here for the finale.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like two polar opposites. Obviously, you go like down sort of like dual carriageway on one side. There's like a few people watching, and then you come down the bottom corner up onto the cobbles, and it's just like a roar of people.
I'm going to let you get to the podium. Congratulations. Let's rejoin the guys in the commentary box.
There you go, Hannah. Indicative again of the rich heritage of cycling in Sheffield, and it's great to have this race back on the calendar. It was dearly missed, but tonight very worthy winner in Ollie Wood from Canyon DHB.
Yeah, definitely, and great tactics from Canyon DHB. And I think you know sometimes as well, Ollie said, the manager Tim Elvison said, just go out, enjoy, have fun, enjoy the bike race, and that's what they did. And you know sometimes when you actually you have a bit of a plan, but actually you get told to go and have fun and sort of enjoy it and relax a little bit. Sometimes that's when some of the big victories come, isn't it?
You can't beat a flexible plan A, can you? But the thing is they had it wrapped up, as Ollie said in his post-race interview there, that Bostock's got it overall. Ollie could potentially have leapfrogged John Mould into second place. We'll need to get confirmation of that, and will we have that by the end of the show? We're not too sure, but nothing untoward tonight, apart from, of course, from an overall point of view, Bostock's got it in the bag. But that last corner, again, we've seen 2 races in a row now. That final corner has been so important for the final result.
Yeah, definitely. I think sometimes you take so much confidence, and you sort of, Sheshkas was leading the race, and you take so much confidence, and you just went so fast. He lost his back end, saved it, and then just lost his front wheel at then. Real shame to see, but it's like you say, it's not over until you cross that finish line. And I think sometimes actually, you could have taken it a little bit steadier, and sort of taken the speed, to be able to put the pressure onto the climb. But I think sometimes when you get carried away with each other, it's just bike racing as well, Jimmy, as well.
Yeah, it's bike racing, as we always use that analogy. It's bike racing, but the thing for me is that you're never going to do things like that in a race without a combination of two things. You want to win. Sheshka's wanted to win tonight, full of adrenaline, in the best position he's been all year, well, pretty much since his victory in the Tour Series. As well as it would be so nice for Vitus Pro Cycling to have got on that podium again after getting a bit more momentum after the sickness of obviously Chris Latham. Ali Slater was back on the podium for them, Justin Barnsley just on Friday past, and it would have been great to have seen them back on the podium. And it's a lot of what ifs, but as we say, that's bike racing.
Yeah, it's a great shame, and I think Sheshka's really did show though how strong he's come into form. We've got a couple of road races coming up over the next few weeks, so hopefully he can carry on that form, but also want to say hope he's okay and he's not broken anything. That's the main thing.
Yeah, we've got no information as yet from the circuit, but yeah, fingers crossed. It looked like he was still conscious, which is the most important part. But let's just talk about Rob Scott. He managed to scrap his way back up there and claw his way back up to the back wheel of Charlie Tanfield. And
very lucky not to have been caught up, because he was on the right hand side of
Sheshka's wheel. It was pretty much a dead stop from that
yeah.
final corner, which at that point in the race, that's the least that you need.
Yeah, two things. I think very lucky not to get caught up as he went on the right-hand side of Sheshka's and go into the barriers.
Yeah,
But also,
good
secondly, to be able to get a bit of speed back and get back up and overtake Charlie Tanfield. And, great ride by all four, but, Canyon definitely outwitted the other two as well.
Yeah, we can't stop about Canyon. We can't stop talking about Canyon DHB. Been dominant all the way through this series. Matt Bostock has obviously taken the series overall. Won 5 rounds. His teammate Hollywood wins tonight, and they also get another podium place with Charlie Tanfield. But we've actually got an interview with the man of this series, Matt Bostock from Canyon DHB. We'll throw across to Becca.
How was it out there tonight?
Yeah, it was good fun actually. The crowds were really good, and the course was nice and flowing, and it was safe. So yeah, all good.
And Ollie taking the win there, your teammate, of course. We were all debating, what's Tim told you? What's the game plan?
Yeah, pressure was on him. It's been on him a couple of times. It's about time he finally won. But no, I've won the other 5 and he's won the last one, so clean sweep for Canyon.
What does it mean to take the overall series victory?
Oh, it's massive. Tim set me this target and for the team to win it, so to do it, have it being a target is even sweeter, and now I'm buzzing.
Because you can know that you've got the form coming into the season, but there's so many variables. To actually pull it off on so many rounds must be quite special.
Yeah, I think I'll obviously look back on it with fond memories, and I don't think, even if I'm in like better form next year, I don't think it'd be possible to do the same again. So I'll remember this.
Never know.
Yeah, never know.
Thank you so much. We'll let you get to the podium. Cheers.
And there we see the man of the night, Sheffield Grand Prix winner, Hollywood from Canyon DHB. Been a great ride from them the whole of this series, hasn't it, Hannah?
Yeah, and I think it's always nice as well for Ollie. You sort of look behind and see he's got such a gap as well, and to be able to celebrate so early and
fortunate.
Yeah, really
Let's just say he was fortunate,
of course, yeah. But really enjoy that victory, and brilliant to see Ollie be able to take a victory, and Canyon just running away with the whole series with the overall and the team classification, and obviously winning every single round.
And I've just been looking down my overall standings, and it looks like potentially he may have just leapfrogged John Mouldy. Haven't got any confirmation of where Mould finished in that bunch, but look at that. That is a massive crash. I think one of the saving graces for Freddie Sheshkas there is he actually landed on his back and his shoulders, because 9 times out of 10 in a situation like that, that's at least a collarbone.
Yeah.
And that is a season finisher.
Very, very, very nasty crash, but like we said before, really hope nothing's broken, but equally, fortunate not to also even land on his head as hard as he potentially could have. Concussion's never a nice thing either, so.
And it also limbs. Concussion's a really weird time because it can kind of limb over you potentially for the rest of the next few months and next few weeks. But yeah, hopefully he gets checked out, and I'm sure the team are all over that and making sure he's good. But the thing for me tonight, again, domination of Canyon DHB has been prevalent throughout this series, and really nice to see a different rider from that team and a different couple of riders in the break. We spoke to no uncertain terms about how impressive Matt Bostock has been, and there we see our final top 10 there. Obviously Hollywood, Canyon DHB taking it from Rob Scott, Team Wiggins LeCol, and Charlie Tanfield, 3rd place, 4th place by Matt Bostock, 5th Gabs Kool-Aid. Great ride by Gabs, that again. Yeah,
another great ride by Gabs, and great to see a few of the smaller teams getting into the top 10 as well. So great ride by all, and Gabs, after having a great race last week as well.
Consolidation. That's the thing for Gabs Kool-Aid, because they haven't came here with an incredibly focused or strong team. It's been virtually himself as well as Rob Scott, who we're just about to see come on to the podium. Charlie Tanfield has received his podium flowers, as we see Rob Scott now take to the podium, finishing at a very, very impressive 2nd place. I would say he's been one of the most animated riders throughout this series, and it's great to see Rob actually get a result and something for himself out of this.
Yeah, definitely. Another ride, always working hard for his teammates, but showing strong form as well.
Showing good hair as well.
Yeah.
Very impressive
Very impressive
hair.
Straight after a bike race. That's
to
very
find
impressive.
out who his coiffeur is. I think that's how you say
it. Don't know, but he's got good height on it.
Yeah, absolutely. A bit of lift in that hair. As we see the winner of the 2019 Sheffield Grand Prix here. The final round of the HSBC UK British Cycling Circuit Race Series, and Wood, I think he's still in a bit of disbelief that he's won, because it kind of almost just fell into his lap, didn't it?
Yeah, especially that last corner, Sheshka's crashing, and Ollie found himself on the front and just went full gas from the bottom of that climb. Rob Scott coming towards him, but just ran out of.
Yeah, Wood was gone. There was no doubt about that. But it's great to have seen that tenacity which we spoke about so many times during the race of Rob Scott. And here we have our podium, folks. On your right hand side in third place, Charlie Tanfield from Canyon DHB. Second place goes to Rob Scott with probably the best podium here I've seen this year in the National Circuit Series. And in the middle, the man of the moment is Ollie Wood from Canyon DHB. And now we're going to get the
I was about to say, Rob Scott looking immaculate, but maybe his hair's not going to look immaculate in a minute after this champagne.
As you see Wood here just getting absolutely drenched. It's great to see the camaraderie with the riders, isn't it? Because for 60 minutes or so they're at war with each other, but the minute the bike race is done, it's just a bunch of lads having a great time doing what they love.
Yeah, definitely, and great friendships within the peloton as well. We're not going to be able to see now after all that champagne in his eyes.
It'll be interesting to see what happens here with the overall series, because we're now going to finally find out who our top 3 riders are, and Ollie Wood could be spraying even more champagne in a moment or two.
It didn't take a mathematical genius to earn this one out. He sealed the win on Friday night in Barnsley. He has taken sprint after sprint. He had 5 out of 6 wins in the series, and he also took the bunch sprint into the finish. Put your hands together for the 2019 National Circuit Series champion. It is Matt Bostock of the Canyon DHB team.
And here he comes, folks. 5 rounds out of 6. 6 out of 6 for Canyon DHB. This man has been in imperious form, hasn't he, Hannah, all the way through this series?
It's been extremely impressive, and before each race he'd always say, I'm a little bit tired, I'm not sure how tonight's going to go, and he took that victory, and one of the most impressive crit riders of 2019.
Well, I tell you what, folks, thank you so much for joining us all the way through this series. It's been great having Hannah. Thanks for being part of this team, Hannah.
Thanks for having me,
Thank you for joining in with us on YouTube. And folks, all the best. Over to Becca.
Okay.
Well, he definitely wants to drink that champagne and take it home. I do not blame him. That's all we've got time for here in Sheffield, and in fact for the series as a whole. Matt Bostock behind me on that podium, literally writing himself into the history books across the series as a whole, and his teammate Ollie Wood taking that win tonight. It's been brilliant for their team. They're up there celebrating, but the series might be over. There's plenty more to find out about the world of cycling over britishcycling.org.uk. So from all of us here in Sheffield, bye-bye for now.